Okay, so I want to make a tutorial on Volume Builder. It's kind of like a little pinch of Houdini in Cinema 4D, and it is great. And if you don't know what it is, it essentially allows you to create things a little bit like this. And if you ask me, that's pretty cool stuff. So EJ from iDesign, EJ from iDesign made a tutorial, and it's great. He literally mulls over the entire thing, goes over the semantics. So if you really want to understand Volume Builder, that's the place to go. I'm just kind of gonna take that paintbrush and show you how to paint with it, or paint a very specific picture with it. As always, project files will be on my store. And without further ado, let's get painting. Okay, so here we are in Cinema 4D now. Of course, I am going to focus on recreating that initial render. There's a bunch of things you can do with Volume Builder, but I feel like if I just can run you through this, then you'll be able to go and create what you want to anyway. Of course, I did use a model from 3D Scans. Now, if you feel confident enough to pick your own model, go for it. Go mess around with whatever model you desire. But I did use the Napoleon model, which is around here somewhere. It's pretty identifiable. I'll just find that. So it was this model here. Any of them would really look good. I do think it looks especially good on ones that are more like busts or heads. So like this one, for example, or this one. I did try it with some kind of zoomed out ones. It's just a little bit harder to frame, I guess, because they're so big, so you kind of have to keep it from the waist up, but that's just for this style of render. I think this one would look cool, actually. I haven't seen that one before. So when you load the model in, of course, it will be wherever it feels like it, way over there. So what we'll do is we'll just call this, we'll just call it, I think I was calling it NAP, and then we can do Shift-C, Axis, Center, and select all of these, and just make sure the axis is centered there. And we'll align this up just like that, and then we will fix the rotation, so 90 and 90, and now it's pretty centered. Now if you look at this, it's pretty big, so we're just going to scale this down until it's the size of a cube, and then we're going to know at that point that it's quite manageable. So we'll drop in a camera and we'll do the same thing. We'll zero out the rotation and the first two values there, and now we're perfectly centered on with the model. Now, assuming this would be for Instagram, we'll just 1080 by 1080 that, and I'll also do that just for simplicity of the tutorial, and then we can maybe zoom in a little bit here. So we have a nice framed model. Next up, we're just going to focus on creating the volume. So if we come up here to volume and you see Volume Builder, and if we drop it in there, nothing happens. Well, that happens. So what we're going to do is Shift-C and type in, random field. And then we'll pop that in there, and we can set that to noise. Now, there's a few different ways we can approach this here, but I'll show you that in a second. If you just want to drop in a volume measure as well, and then we're actually going to be able to see what's going on. But if you want to make sure the random field is above it, and if we set it to subtract, it'll actually take away from the model. Intersect is also quite interesting, and it was one I messed with a lot. Subtract seems to kind of hit the surface of the model more. Intersect seems to just kind of slice right through it. So they both kind of give you different effects, but we'll chill on intersect just now. I might change it back if it's not giving me what result I want. And if we change this to something like Luca, and you do want to put the scale up quite a bit, maybe like 800 even, just so you can see the difference. If we do set this to subtract, you can kind of see what it's doing there. So I'll go and subtract right now, and we'll bring the voxel size down to about 2. And you can see now some of the detail of the model is coming back, which we do want, of course. So if we come back in the random field, and different noises, of course, is going to give you a lot of different effects. You see that looks pretty cool there. And different scales are going to mess with it as well. I have found that usually larger scales work quite a bit better. So you can even take this all the way up to 2000 and it's still giving you nice results. So if I am to stay on whatever scale I have right now, and we bring the voxel size down to 0.5, Now, of course, voxel size, if you're not familiar with that, translates kind of to the level of detail. So the lower you bring this, the more detail you're going to get. And as you can see in the bottom left there, that's updating, and usually takes a few seconds. But once you dip below about 1, and you're in the, the null points, that's when your detail is going to get a lot nicer. Personally, with this model specifically, I noticed as soon as I dipped below about 0.2 on my machine, and that's with 32 gigs of RAM, about 12 cores. As soon as I dip below 0.2, it started to play up a bit. So gauge from that what you will, and that's with this model. If you're doing it with a sphere or something else, different results. But as you can see, this looks quite nice, and you're kind of getting the same effects already. And if we come in and change this to intersect, you can kind of see the effects it's going to give there. So we could even stay on that. We could come down to about 700. I like that it's shaving off the top of his head there. That looks really cool. And of course now, because we're on the 0.3, it loves to take ages to update there. And it is what it is. You have to deal with it. Great things take time. So there, I'll just stay on 800 right now. And as you can see, setting up the volumes is so simple. It doesn't take long at all. But when you're moving into the texturing and the lighting, that's when the look really comes to be. Now, I did mention EJ's tutorial in the intro. He really mulls over what Volume Builder is. Like I said, I'm just showing you how to create this render. I may even come back and show you how to make other ones. I just want people to learn how to paint with it a little bit. So what we can do now is we'll set up our lighting. One thing I did do is I brought in a HDRI. So we'll just load in any HDRI, kind of want one with quite intense lighting. And if you just align that and make sure it's kind of showing a bit of everything. And then we'll drop in a texture environment, set that to black. And we'll keep it primary right now. And we'll do F3 and we'll set this to perspective, and we'll drop in a light, area light, set this to about, set this to fall off map. Come out here with that, set this to about 1000. Maybe come up to the right, forward. We can maybe set it to a disk, bring it up. So then we can just kind of keep bringing this to the side. We can maybe turn it a little bit. And we can turn down our power a bit to soften it up. A good alternative to turning down power is to just move the light further away. And then of course we've got one light set up. We can bring this back, rotate it. Or in fact, what we'll do is we'll just undo the rotation there, so it's reset, and then make this 90 and bring it way above the model like that. And now we have some, you bring this to the right a little bit, turn off, and now we have some pretty decent lighting. If you want to, you can add like another fill. So sorry if I'm going a bit quick here, I just don't want to waste too much time. So you can bring another fill out like that, and that just helps fill in that side. I am going to bring the camera in a bit closer to about 80. I'm going to bring it back a bit. Bring it back a bit there. Now we'll save this tutorial. And in that first light, I'm probably just going to bring that down a little bit again. So our main light is kind of the one above. One thing I did do in the initial render was I dropped in a cylinder. If you bring that down, maybe add like a fillet on it. Hit F3 again. Bring in the radius. Bring in the height, just so it's in there. Pop that in just under NAP there. NAP. And if we come into the volume builder, we make sure it's down here. Now that'll start getting chunked away at as well. It's just a nice kind of way of having, or signaling that there was a stand there holding him up. Now what I'll do is create that lovely material that we had on there. So if we pop in a specular material there, and you can either put it on either of the objects in the builder or just pop it up in the measure, doesn't really matter. And in here, as you can see, the glass is looking absolutely lovely. I definitely do some renders with the glass, but it's not a complex material at all. It's really quite simple. We just turn on fixed shadows. They've moved it again. I've just updated my Octane. I couldn't get it working for ages, and it's brilliant to finally have it updated. Turns out I wasn't using the right driver. Isn't that what it always is? So you want to pop up the roughness quite a bit there, and we'll just grab a scatter and medium, and we'll grab 2 different RGB spectrums. You can even just, plug them in, and you want to make them a nice kind of rich orange, or whatever color you're after. So we'll make it a nice, vibrant, intense, yellowy orange. As you can see, it's coming out quite dark there. Don't want it quite like that. Something a bit like that. You can bring down this to about 40 on the density. You can see if we keep bringing it down, it gets nicer looking. But I think somewhere around 25, 30, 40 looks nice. And regarding the roughness, if we bring this back down, you can see the color gets a bit more intense, and you bring it up, it gets more of that frosted kind of look. I think something around here looks good. We can even just make sure this is. Now what I will do is pop in a LUT. Now to assure that you guys have the same LUT, I will maybe pick one out of the presets here, like this. And under the saturation, you can maybe bring the saturation up a little bit. Mess with some, just gonna get, what was the first one? Teen, right, Sprocket. Yeah, that looks good. So if we come back in here, I am going to mess with this a bit more just to get the color right. We could even pop it in the transmission to get more color, but it does have a tendency to really oversaturate things. So 50, I think I was around 49, yeah. I was pretty close to yellow. I was something like that. But what we'll do is we'll focus on the lighting next. So if you did want kind of that dark look, I posted a few of them on my Instagram. There you have it. That's how I achieved it, was just like that. But we're going to keep it moving and move straight onto that whole kind of orange look. So if we pop in a plane and we holding shift here, pop in a bend under it, hit fit to parent, bump up the strength, and just keep turning it until, if we go back to F3, it'll be sometimes I feel like I'm turning these things forever. There we go. And then pop a subdivision in it. Into parent again. Oh, for crying out loud, come on. Just work, man. $90. Oh, and he's done it. He's done it. Right. You bring down the height a bit more. And I'm going to set this to about 2000 in each. Bring down the height, or bring up the height. And we'll move this back, down and away. It's kind of turning over a little bit too much. Kind of want something a bit more like that. That looks quite nice. And with that light that's above, if you just bring that up till you're not seeing that kind of rim there, and we can just keep bringing this back. In fact, I'll bring this forward with that light, bring that forward, and I'll turn them down a bit. It's going to take a bit of trial and error here to get this right, but what we can do now is set this to visible environment, and then we're going to get nice kind of light distribution from the HDRI as well, and it's not all going to be in the lights. And that's kind of what gives you that even light everywhere. Again here, I want this more yellow. Try 57. Not that yellow. Try 53. Okay, now you're in close. Try 54. Yeah, that's relatively close at least. 52. Yeah. So next up, I'll do Control S. What we can do with the background here, I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit more, maybe by reducing the height there. We can just bring this up kind of till it's just below there, and bring it a little bit further forward. Now with this light here, I'm maybe going to bring him a bit closer until he's really powering on there, and I'll probably make it a rectangle. Bring him up a bit, and I'll just kind of make sure that he's powering onto it a little bit. And of course we can make them all in the same sampling rate. And with the above, I'll call that above. You can maybe make this key. We can call this fill. You can maybe just make sure that they're really powering on the heat a bit, because you don't want your lights to be too faint and mulling over them. I kind of feel like they were. Yeah. And then we can drop in a diffuse material, and pop it on the background there, and just mess with this till we're getting kind of a similar look. Now, I think mine was glossy, actually, but I can't quite remember. It sure as hell wasn't that yellow, but I'm not going to spend too much time messing with it. Either way, it looks alright. Maybe come back to orange a little bit. Yeah, it was a bit more like that, I think. I'll come up to about 135 here. So I always do that. Zoom back out. And we'll get our focal length in to 3. If you were very hooked on what I did in the start, if you just set this to 1280 by 720 and set this to Panavision, reset that, and this is how I rendered what you saw at the start. I just thought it's probably smart to go over that because that is what I showed, and there'll be some of you that'll be like, oh my god, and you know, I don't want to not go over that. What I'm going to do with the above light is make that a rectangle, and I'm going to try and get it to hit his shoulder a bit more. See there? Because I don't feel like it is. Maybe that's a job I should put on the key. Maybe. If we move it forward, will you get his shoulder a bit more? Yeah, you will. Using fall-off maps on lights kind of requires you to use them at angles you wouldn't usually think of using them at. I think that's nice. How's our HDRI doing? Maybe, what happens if we turn this down? Doesn't really look totally different. The more you bring that up, the more it fills out the scene evenly, and I like the look of it looking quite evenly filled out. But I don't like all the shadows on the lights. So we'll turn off that, and we'll make sure this bend is, I do remember being like very sharp on mine. So that's about 50. On my initial render, it was trying to think about how I did that. Yeah, so you bring down that there, and it was very 90 degrees. And then if you just move this further back till you're not getting that harsh shadow behind it. I'll check up on our LUT here. We're using Sprocket right now. Maybe bring up the saturation a bit more. I don't know how much I messed with these values. I tend to just kind of grade in here. Probably did a bit of this. Bring up saturation. Or maybe if we just flick through these, we'll get something that was a bit similar like this. What's that? Remy. Yeah, that was pretty similar. We'll get a bit of post. Make sure the contrast is in there. And I'm just going to bring this up till it's touching him. Or at least we can see some shadows. I'll just leave it like that. I know the scene kind of appeared quite flat. There wasn't much differentiation between the foreground or the subject and the background, which is a look I definitely wanted for the scenes that I had the lights on, or sorry, the HDRI on. I think the scenes where it was just black, I wasn't too bothered. And if we just, if we zap back to that, you just turn off that, bring down this, and you're kind of back there. And then, you know, if you just like stick on the above light, you get this really nice look that comes into the head here. And I did just post one like this on my Instagram. And then you can kind of turn to the material to do a little bit of work. You know, maybe a little bit more dense or whatnot. I think it looks okay like that, to be honest. I think roughness maybe plays a bit of a bigger part because you can get that kind of cloudy look or that really glossy look, which I think looks dope. But to set up different camera angles, of course, you know, can try all sorts of things. Could do 300, and then we could turn that back on. Or even if we actually stay in the dark, Turn both the lights back on. See how it looks. Looks very waxy. It's nice. Here's a cool little trick. If you stay in the dark background, turn off your lights, maybe grab the key or the above, right? And just turn it on. Rotate it out. Put it way behind him. Like that. And then he's gonna poke through. And you get it look like that, which I think looks awesome. If you mix that with the above light and you kind of mess with them on those levels, you get some pretty cool stuff, especially if you make this bigger. You make it orange, just like him, or you even make it blue. And we'll put back in here. That really shows off the subsurface. I definitely think that looks cool. I like that a lot. In the random field though, what were we at? We were at 0.5. How does this look like 400? We can see that looks pretty cool. I like that. I like the amount of tears going on there. What I am going to do though is I think the box is actually a bit small. So in the random field, just going to make it like 200 in each value. I'll let that catch up with me. There we go. Make the box a bit bigger because I think that's what's doing that kind of head cut off, which looks cool, but when you want to change things about, it just a bit tedious really, isn't it? So maybe it's still slicing off his head, but you know, I think maybe the next thing to do, yeah, you can see that's what's causing the slice, which is a cool effect because now you know if you want to go for that, you can go for that. But what I'll probably do is just scale him down here. So I'll turn off the mesher to scale him down. I might even turn off the builder because he's not going to like it. Cinema is not going to like it. Just let's catch up. I'll just turn off the builder as well. We'll grab the cylinder. That looks cool in the picture viewer. I like that. Yeah, we'll make sure he's just snug in there. That looks really cool. Let's stick to the volume builder for this though. It's what the title of the video is. I'll turn this back on. We can make this like 100 again. As you can see, it's looking a bit more like my initial result, especially if we come up to 800. I know 800 was the scale I used. I think it was Naki I used, in my opinion. Either way, we'll go back to those same look we had with a bit of a better look on the head. It was Naki. Oh, I think it was Luca actually. Yeah, I really think it was. We'll find out in a second. Because it had like these cool kind of cracks all up it as well, like these like thin cracks going through it, which I thought looked awesome. Yeah, that's pretty similar. What I will do, we'll just why am I off to God knows what I've been a numpty. Let's just yeah, there we go. Turn the lights back on, turn that back on. Not the behind light. And pop our sky back up here. Maybe like 1.7, not as intense. That's pretty close to how I had it now. This looks a bit more like what do you call it, a Voronoi stuff, the way this is right now. I think maybe setting this to what, just to try and get it a bit closer to how I had it. I think 1500. Try that. That's just ripped it apart completely. We'll just stick that back to 800. That looks cool though. It looks cool, especially if you're going to do like a fade in when it comes to animating it. That does look really cool. But we've got this on intersect right now. I had it on subtract, of course. So if we want to get closer to my original look, you'd want to do that. Yeah, because I was in subtract, I wasn't on intersect. Maybe come back to Naki. Was it Naki I used? Here's where we'll find out. If we go back to Naki, we'll maybe see some different results from it. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Kind of that hole in the face. If we come in the volume builder, we set the surface threshold. I was on 0.3, but I like this hole in the face. That looks very artistic. So I'm going to leave it with that. The animation, I did use the surface threshold. So what you want to do to animate it, for example, just come to 10 on the voxel size. That looks beautiful. I'll set this to 1. Control click on that. Come to 3 seconds. I don't know, maybe go 0.3. It's going completely. And that will animate and it will slowly just torture itself and go away like that. You set the voxel size closer to what you want. Can I play that back on 5, or is it going to kick off on me? No, I can. So you can see there, that's kind of how I've done it. And you could even do that all the way to the point where it's gone. Or what would probably be cooler, and I probably should have done this, is have it coming in like this. So if you start off at 0 and have it kind of does this thing. Even if you stick it on linear, it takes like seconds to come in. But then if we come to the F curve and we hit H and then do Alt L, make it linear, and now you're pretty much going to get the exact same result I did. But of course, you come to the mesher and right click and bake as alembic. Sorry, why do I go alembic? You bake it as alembic. EG went over all that stuff. You bake it, and then your render time, of course, will not be as horrendous. Still pretty horrendous though. So if we come, how low could I get this while playing it back? Let's see if we can play this. Yeah. So you can see that's what you witnessed at the beginning. Of course, you kind of saw it tearing apart though. I like this though. I like him with a hole in his face. Now, I did mention about going below 0.5 and pushing it. So you can of course see how that looks on 0.2. The difference isn't really that much. If you're on a slightly lower end machine, you could probably get away with 0.5. But anyhow, that's probably as close to the result as I will take you. I'd like to come back and do some more tutorials with Volume Builder, because it's honestly, it's all in the lighting and the materials, and some materials look way better than others. So it would be fun to do a few more. Of course, all these project files will be up on my store, and I'd like to keep adding to those project files as well. So go check them out there. Go check out EJ's tutorial if you want to really understand Volume Builder a bit more in depth. And of course, I did just want to show you how to create this render specifically. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you took something from it. And I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye.